I think it's a little premature to say that North Korea is planning or preparing for a nuclear test, even though we have seen activity at the nuclear test site, that they are re-excavating into one of the unused test tunnels. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's immediately what they're going to do, simply that they're creating options for themselves to be able to possibly do a test in the future. But I do think, North Korea's testing of its ICBMs, the last one, the controversy over it, whether it was the 15 or the 17, the unsuccessful test that they had, trying to figure out what went wrong in that test and how serious those technical problems were that made that test fail, I think does help dictate when we might see something from them again. So it's not just a political timeline that we're working with here, but a technical one as well. And we know that North Korea wants to prove its ICBM technology, especially this newer, larger ICBM that could potentially carry multiple warheads. We also know they want to launch a reconnaissance satellite, which may also, we don't know where in the development process they actually are with their reconnaissance satellite. And they do have other WMD goals that they set out at the 8th Party Congress last year.
Clearly, there was a lot of hope, or at least a lot of potential that was lodged in the Singapore summit that took place in June 2018 between Kim Jong-un and President Trump, and then the second summit, which started on a hopeful note in Hanoi. That was in March 2019. The DPRK, and then of course it was basically shut down by the U.S. side. They gave the DPRK a take it or leave it ultimatum, knowing, I think, with certainty that the DPRK would not succumb to an ultimatum, that they had pledged to a step-by-step approach, confidence-building measures on each part. The DPRK was sending confidence-building measures by declaring the moratorium on ICBM tests and nuclear weapons tests. And they got nothing from it. I mean, absolutely nothing. And so at this point, I think the DPRK, especially when you think about the global environment, the war in Ukraine, the fact that we're actually exiting one era and entering a new one that we don't really fully know what to anticipate. I think the DPRK is going back to putting a premium on its own self-defense measures. And central to that, ever since 2002, ever since Bush made the axis of evil speech, identifying DPRK, Iran, and Iraq as the axis of evil, and that's when the DPRK left the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. This is first and foremost in terms of their security guarantees.